Hey everyone, and welcome to Book Talks with Sandy. And I am so excited to have you here. This is our weekly broadcast where we interview authors, anthology book projects, and I mostly say that, and I say mostly it is for you. Why do I say that? Simply because you just might be looking for a good book to read. Well, many of you all know that this is, and you all know that for women, this is Women's History Month. And this is a weekend that I am participating in a network in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So I'm on site, I'm at the hotel, but yes, I'm on site in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, enjoying the phenomenal networking of some amazing women out of the Biloxi area, but right here in Baton Rouge. And I want to give a great big shout out to the visionary author and the creator of the Sis Stars Empowerment Incorporated, which is Nadia Francois, who is the creator of this amazing weekend of events. And I'll be sharing with you all a little bit more because we have some events going on all weekend and all week, as well as some an upcoming summit, which is called Level Up Summit. And yes, I'll be sharing that with you. But here we are, we're back again with another part. This is part 2 of my interview with the phenomenal, yes, LuDrean Howard Peterson, who is the visionary author of a book called We Grieve Differently. And you see that she brought some amazing women with her on today. I have with us Dakota Saunders, excuse me. Hi, Dakota, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you? I'm good.
I'm good. I'm hanging in here, girl. Yes, I am. We are going to have a great time, but welcome to Book Talks with Sandy. Diane Jackson.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing
good?
Well.
Okay, good. Glad to have you. And we have Lady Latasha BriscoeCo with us.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, and thank you. And we have Ms. Monica Bess that is with us. And Sunita Mitchell is with us as well. Hey, Sunita, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing, listen, girl, I'm hanging in here. Y'all hanging in here with me too, and I appreciate it. And the visionary author, as well as, you got to help me with this because you have a co-visionary author as well. And so LuDrean, who is, yes, the visionary author of this amazing project, along with Sunita. Did I get that right? No, it's not
Latasha.
Latasha Briscoe.
Hey, come on, y'all, help me out here.
Give Latasha her flowers.
Yes.
Maybe that's another book.
Wait a minute. Look. Okay, so Sunita, you all help me out. Okay, so listen, these women are fabulous. Sunita is going to share with us about some resources. This book, We Grieve Differently, is going to empower you. This book is a part of 12 individuals, 12 women who have shared their stories of their losses, but yet some victories and some victories of dealing with loss. And we're talking about loss of death. We're talking about loss of life. And LuDrean, you were with us on last week. And so you've been with me for 3 weeks. we have become quite a girl's pal here.
Yes,
I appreciate
indeed.
you. I don't always get it right, but thank you for helping me through my fumbles here. But
Likewise.
you have brought this amazing book to the light of our listening audience, and we have some regulars that listen to us from all over the country. And so, bring us in this book, We Grieve Differently, as well. And if you recall, my previous interview with her prior to this was about the book We Heal Differently. And so we kind of did a flip there. But LuDrean, come on and share with us. You are a best-selling author. You're a talk show host. You have a business where you're definitely out of the corporate world. So share a little bit about who you are and this book, and then we'll bring on your other Miss Briscoe, who is your other visionary author, together.
Yes. And Sandy, once again, thank you so much for allowing us to be on your platform and rolling out the carpet to have us to do sort of like a takeover for 3 weeks. I really appreciate that. And as I had mentioned on the very first show, like right now, it just seems at a heightened level where everyone is trying to heal, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's going through this whole grieving stage, and how you said it, we started kind of like in the backwards order. Of course, I think God's orchestration is never backwards, and
Right.
it just so happened to be how it ended up going, right? So we talked about the healing first, but it's also like very pivotal and important for people to get the message is that when you are grieving, if you don't allow yourself to fully go through the process, and if you don't face what's going on, but you more so try to avoid it, you're not going to get through it. You're not going to get through it, and you're not going to get to the place where you can even transition to heal. You're going to find yourself stuck. You're going to find yourself stuck. So all of these ladies, as well as the ones who were on your show last week accompanying me, they have powerful stories about their grieving process. And even throughout the book project, right? As I reread these stories over and over again. It is saying the transition with each and every one of us. All of them are different. That's the title. We all grieve differently. All the stories are different. And it doesn't mean that it's going to mirror someone's experience that they're going through right now. It doesn't mean that someone's going to have the exact pathway that either one of us had. But I can tell you that all of the stories have some impactful droppings and some impactful nuggets that make people think. And I can guarantee you, even if it's not with their moms, that they have gone through a process where some of the things that we wrote, it'll be because even within the stories for me, I'm all throughout this. And then the last thing I'll say before I cue Tasha up, within the books, one of the things that we really try to do, right? We, the authors in themselves, the majority of them have tips at the back of the book in which I collaborate. I probably owe y'all a little something because I put them in the Heal Journal. But in addition to that, Latasha and I, when we were talking about this project, and she can share in more about how it came to be, how it really came to be. But as we were talking about this project, we realized that people were hurting for all different things, and that hurt was causing them grief. So we wanted the meat of it to be what we wanted it to be. And we purposely did that, purposely picked 12, including us too, because each one of us are roses, and it represented a dozen of roses. And then we called on our spiritual advisors, the people who we really lean upon to help us, and they blessed us with their information, whether it was the foreword or the afterword. And then we pulled in Sunita, who deals with this on a lot of different facets, and we'll let her jump in at the end. Well, she'll provide the whole grief recovery aspect of it. So with that, I gotta introduce you to my girl. Come on, get this flower. She didn't call you every other day, but by all means, I know how it goes, right? But my girl, Latasha Briscoe, the best co-visionary anybody can have. Our skill sets just kind of like come together. And when I tell you magic happens, our souls and our spirits coming together. Oh my God, Latasha is amazing. So Latasha Briscoe, unmic and share about the project. Share what you will want people to know in terms of the introduction of the show. And Sandy, I'm a host, but I feel like I'm taking up your show. So anything, please chime in. But I listen, my girl Latasha.
I'm loving it now, you all. And what I was doing as she was going, I was like, okay, because I could get my notes in my, you know how they have the cue cards, you know, we're in the TV radio network thing. And I'm like, I know I got my cue cards somewhere. I may not be, but I love it. I love it. I love it. And yes, I'm going to go ahead, and when she finished, we want to share who this amazing woman is. And I want you to know who these two women are. You talked about collaborating and gelling together. And the reason I believe is because you all have not just the foundation of being able to work with women, and you as far as LuDrean, you again CEO and deliverer of the business that is called Delivering on Ideas and Thoughts, Do It, and founder of Do It Empowers Incorporated. You are a business strategist, you're a career strategist, certified Christian life coach, specializing in turning dreamers and into doers. You're enthusiastic about helping others optimize their ideas and achieve their personal professional goals. Then we've got Latasha, again, who came in and you all gelled together. Latasha is the owner and the creative director of LB Initiatives, is innovation events, a full service event planning and design firm. Annually, LB Innovations is responsible for over 100 weddings, corporate functions, and events with purpose. There's more I can read about you, but again, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But we want to hear from you, the two of you gelling together, bringing your expertise of bringing women together for such a conversation that when we talk about grieve and we talk about death and we talk about the transitioning of loved ones, friends, family. And so, yes, Lady Latasha, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and I want to echo what my co-visionary said at the beginning. Sandy, thank you for having us on here, allowing us to take over your show, because LuDrean has literally tried to take over your show. But that's our LuDrean, and we love her for that. And
we wouldn't have it any other way, right?
No, ma'am, because that's where we complement each other. Because she has the words, but that just reflects the passion that she has in regards to this project. Because as she stated, I want to share a little bit about how it actually came about. Because and if you get the book, you read, or if you've already read the book, you know that we've lost our mothers. Many of the co-authors in the book have lost their mothers. However, this book is about more than loss in terms of death. We have also had co-authors that have experienced loss by the means of their mothers just disappearing from their lives, or no longer being a part of their lives. And so we definitely want to make sure that we allow listeners to understand that when we're talking about that word loss, we're not just referring to death. And the book, the writing process, the brain dumping process, that brainstorming process, and just the whole method of bringing all the ideas together to draft that first copy, it was a healing process for all of the co-authors as well. For me, when LuDrean said, I want to write this book, and this is why, and I said to her, I've been wanting to write this book because I had lost my mother 10 years prior, but I didn't know where to begin. And that was the beginning of my grieving journey. And this process, it helped me to reflect on some things, heal from some things, understand some things that I didn't get to have closure to when my mother passed. And it also allowed me to watch how LuDrean was going through her grieving process, having just lost her mom, because it helped the both of us really prepare for what was to come immediately following, the release of this book. And even the not even before we even released the book, really, because another thing, came up and we had to experience loss again. But as it was mentioned, we have 12 co-authors, but we also have a lot of experience. We have a lot of knowledge. So it's not just the individual story or chapter, it's the details that everyone can sit down and read and say, you know what, that applies to me, or this is something similar that I went through. We have one co-author whose mom left her on a doorstep at 3 weeks old. That abandonment and that loss, you may not have been left on a doorstep by your mother, but you may have experienced some sort of abandonment in your life. But to really dig deep and understand why a person does what they do, and it may not be just to hurt you, it may be because they were going through something, but it really helps you heal. It helps you get rid of a lot of stuff, that thing called forgiveness in the Bible. It helps you really understand why that is so important. And walking into our, our anniversary of releasing this book, which we released as best-selling authors, it's just exciting that we can bring back this momentum and share with people, because during this past, year, 2 years, really, while we've been going through so much, people have not really had a chance to grieve because something has happened back to back to back for so many of us. And so reintroducing the book, reintroducing the resources that we call our co-authors to everyone will hopefully allow some people to really understand what they're going through and how to deal with what they're going through. So again, I thank you for allowing us to be on here, sharing a little bit more, and allowing us to definitely give flowers, like you said, give me flowers, but give flowers to our co-authors, because we've all been through so much. Even after the book was released, I've watching our co-authors, and they're all dealing with different things in their lives, including loss. So I appreciate you, and definitely looking forward to you hearing from our co-authors and what they have to share as well. So thank you.
You are quite welcome. You all, if you're tuning in, this is Sandy. I want to thank all of you that are listening on Facebook. Thank you we are in a third week of our amazing guest, and who has been bringing these phenomenal women. We're talking about the phenomenal LuDrean Howard Peterson, who is visionary number 1 of We All Grieve Differently. And visionary author Briscoe, whenever you said something about the abandonment, that kind of stuck out. There's 2 things, is that you're right, is that the loss, you're not understanding why you were abandoned. You begin to ask all of those questions. Why did it want me? Why did it care for me? Those questions. And so and this being a re-release, one of the authors that spoke to us last week, she shared about how she went back through her chapter, Sunita, and she was saying tears were coming up as I was rereading just to get prepared. And so what I was saying is that it was a different season. What the thought is coming to mind is that it was a different season when you initially wrote the book or wrote your chapter. But now here it is, maybe a couple of years, a year later, 6 months later, 8 months, 1 month later. And your mindset may be different, but it can still sometimes be fresh in our mind, in our memory. But we handle it differently, just as your book is telling us. We handle it. Maybe it doesn't, the pain is not as strong as it was once. We're learning how to think about the happy moments. LuDrean talked about being able to call her mother and not being able to call her mother, calling her but not being able to, but then just finding herself, I'm sitting in the car, I'm gonna still talk to her anyway. I've got this exciting news, a deliverance, a victory report from the doctor. And okay, and we get it. When you grow to that point, that's the testimony. Listen, I want to thank these ladies, and we're going to definitely hear from them. You are just hearing from visionary author number 2, which is something new, y'all. I've never had it, and I've been interviewing authors. I'm telling you, God is just doing, he just opened me up for all of this new stuff. I'm telling you, we do want to give a thanks to our sponsor, Swag Her Magazine. We're a part of the Swag Her Magazine family. Thank you for sharing it out, and thank you all. We do want to let you know is that yes, the Swag Her family, we are part of them. And so if you're looking for a good resource and a good magazine to have and read and maybe be a part of, Swag Her Magazine online, you can go to that. And now what I want to do is call on contributing author Dakota. I would like to call on her, and then Sunita, we're going to bring you around. I would like to call on Dakota, and Dakota is a contributing author. And give me 1 second. I'm just going to pull up your information here, and let's see. Here we go. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. So thank you and welcome. And so just want to share who you are. Dakota Saunders, born in January the 25th, and she's candid about the year she was born. You know, we as ladies, sometimes we'll tell people, and I don't mind telling folks, I'm hitting 61 this year, and I'm so excited. She was raised in the Prince George County of Maryland, raised surrounded by the love of her beloved father, Alexander Saunders, and her beloved mother, Sheila Saunders. Dakota often spent time surrounded by her immediate family, which includes her two older brothers, host of nieces and nephews. Her beloved mother, Sheila Saunders, inspired Dakota's love for education. Her mother always instilled in her children the value of education and the importance of succeeding in life, no matter what the obstacles you face. Dakota attended college and became an elementary school teacher. She has been teaching for over 15 years and loves educating her students. Dakota has obtained a master's degree in education and then decided to work towards her doctoral degree. When she is not working, she enjoys spending time with her family and friends, traveling and supporting her community, continuing to pursue her doctoral degree while still teaching her students and to become the best version of themselves. At this time, we're going to go ahead and hear from contributing author Dakota Saunders. Welcome to the table.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for welcome us all to this platform. Basically how my journey began with this, Latasha and LuDrean have reached out to us. And at that time, I was strongly dealing with the death of my mom. Not saying I'm not dealing with it now. However, writing this book had definitely helped influence me to talk about it more, reach out to other people that's dealing with death, not even just as a mom or dad, but just in general. But I definitely know writing this book definitely released a lot of stress, anxiety. I can definitely just reflect on it and think of positive memories related to my mom and my dad as well, because my dad is also deceased. Living in this world now alone, sometimes I feel alone. But I definitely know that both of them are in a better place. And I still have a journey to accomplish with other people who may go through this as well. I'm thankful and grateful that I have met a lot of people because of this. I have met a lot of sisters because of this. So I know when I go through things, I definitely have people to reach out to, and I'm thankful for that. I'm just basically grateful. If I had to say one thing that I'm happy for that I got out of this experience, this is my first time being able to write a book as well. One thing that I've reflected I got out of this was building a relationship with others and digging deep and finding strength to move on, to discover that it's not the end. That is not the end. And I have more to do in life, so I'm thankful.
I love it. I love it. And LuDrean has shared with me, and I think we had in our second interview with the other authors, you all had these meetings, these times of getting together, and sometimes wasn't even about the book. You cried, you laughed, you pulled out the tissues and all of that. And so now you have this circle of sisters. How is that feeling for you?
That feels great. Especially because I only have brothers. So it feels great to be able to come and, talk about things that female deal with, and on a different level than just talking to my big brother. So
because sometimes they just don't understand.
Exactly.
And then they want to be our fathers,
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So that's amazing. So you're having to, do you find yourself sharing your story with other women who have lost a parent, who have lost, since we're on the subject, your mother has passed on, and as you were saying, you were dealing with that as you should, as any daughter would. Do you find that God has sometimes placed you in, and you'll step back, that was only God to allow me to share my story? Share a moment of that if that's happened with you.
Well, I did ask myself, of course, sometimes we question God. Yep. And I did ask myself, I was like, what's the purpose of me having to deal with the loss of my both parents, actually? Yep. And as of right now, I don't have many people or friends that dealt with a loss of parents. But the thing about it, they will go through it. one day. They will, you know, and I think I'm the resource for them to be able to go through it with them, as well as give them guidance and light at the end of the tunnel. Because when you're going through it, especially if you haven't had no one to deal with it, sometimes you're like, you know, you don't really sometimes want to take other people's advice that haven't been through what you've been through.
True.
But I'm the person that have been through it. So when that opportunity comes, I'm definitely know how to kind of walk through with it and be supportive with that person.
I love how you said to be a resource, and already you're using that terminology. You're making yourself available. You're saying, God, I'm available. If you need me, I'm available to be that resource. And that's why we're going to go ahead into our conversation with Sanita, if I can. I think this is a good leading into you. As someone who helps individuals. I want to pull your bio up, but come on and say hi to us while I do that.
Hello, everyone. I am Sanita Mitchell, and I am your grief recovery specialist. And what I do is I help women learn how to transition and to really walk and figure out how to live life after loss, right? Because so many of us, just face it, this wasn't a conversation. If everybody thought for a second, no one really sat you down and had a conversation with you as a child, how to deal with loss and disappointments, right? It just came up. You just was like, hey, I had this loss, and sometimes parents or whoever was, you know, in your life at the time just either told you to get over it or pull up your big girl underwear, and this is just the way the life rotates on the spectrum. And so when we're kids, we learn these things, and then what we learn as kids, we take on as we become women, and we have to learn sometimes to unravel some of those things that we were left to just kind of figure out on our own. And grief is one of those subjects that we just don't have these hard conversations about, right? It's just like one of those things that we just know we're going to have to deal with, but no one really prepares anyone for that. I'll just say, like, it wasn't until my mom passed away in 2019, I remember it was like a few days later, she was like, I remember something she told me. And she said, you'll understand one day because I used to ask her, like, why does she, like, my mom had a real bad setback to like depression and everything when my grandmother passed away. And I didn't understand why. And then she told me, one day you're going to understand what this void is like. But until then, you won't really understand what it's like until it happens to you. But what I learned was that was her way. That was her little conversation, right? And we didn't talk anything else about it. She didn't prepare me. She didn't say anything to me.
Yeah.
But that's just how we are with grief. We just kind of roll with it and just try to figure our way through it.
Awesome. Thank you for that input, and then we'll come back. I want you to share about your what you do, how individuals will be able to reach you, and we'll tap into that in just a moment. But I'm going to go ahead and bring on LuDrean. Do you want to tap in? You got anything? You feeling anything you want to say so far?
You know, I can tap in at any time, but I would like for you to go ahead and proceed through the co-author. You know, I can tap in at any time. I always have something to say. I'm trying to be on my best behavior. Please support and help me. Let's get through them. They have some powerful stories.
They do. Yes, indeed. Diane Jackson. She is next coming up, and born in Milwaukee. I think this is my first time meeting someone out of the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. She is the 6th of 8 born children. Currently lives in Prince George County as well, in Maryland. So did you two know each other before the book project? See, I gotta stop, y'all. This is me. They didn't know each other. Did they live around the corner from each other? Okay, I love it. I love it. And so she lives there with her two daughters. Diane is a teacher, mentor, and editor, as well a mother, to name a few. Before she started writing books, Diana received her bachelor's and master's degree in secondary education and in English education and educational administration from our Marquette University. Am I saying that correctly, y'all?
Marquette.
Thank you. Marquette. Okay, thank you. Though she is a teacher by trade, Diana always knew that she wanted to write books. She discovered her love and talent for poetry writing in the 4th grade. That formed the expression led to her present and writing for many events, as she's put in her bio. Diana hopes that her literary works provide a platform to inspire and encourage readers in several different areas. And then we'll let others know that, yes, they're going to be able to reach you. We'll share her website, which we have is www.dianajackson.com. And we'll have her to say that again shortly. But come on, Diana. Hello, and again, welcome to Book Talks with Sandy's Table. And just share with us how you came about to know these group of women and your contribution to the book.
Sure. So hi, everyone. The way that it came about for me was through Latasha. She hosted events where you could like do vendor activities, like for lack of a better term. So like I did a couple vendor events. And so through that, I was in her email chain. And so she, had this email and she was like, hey, would you like to be a contributing author to this book about grieving the loss of your mother? And for me, my mother isn't deceased, but I was raised in the foster system. And I was like, you know what? I think that it fits the profile, but I'm not sure. So I went to the listening set and I was like, I don't know if this is it based on the description. So I just reached out to her and I was like, hey, this is my story. And I feel like my story can heal. And it is a story of grief and healing. What do you think? And she was like, absolutely. So that's how it came about for me. And, just a little more about my story, as you said, like my mother had 8 children and I was at the age of 4 to eventually age out. And so through that time, especially as I began to grow into my identity as, a teenager, when I really started to think about like all these different things, what does it mean to like be in a foster home with a foster parent who I felt like didn't have my best interest at heart. But then this other layer of, who is this woman who's out here in this world who I don't hear anything about, and what do I make of that, and how do I continue to, move forward? Do I try to pursue a relationship with her? I just completely shut the door. And so that's what my story is about, like really, really understanding that and really trying to figure that out through God, seeking him as he knows her better than I know her. And then accepting what it was, being able to look around and see that he gave me all these other women who acted as mother figures, either for a season or for a lifetime. And so instead of sitting and thinking about what would me, what I didn't have, and bringing all the things that I did. And that's how I was able to grieve and to heal from my story.
Well, thank you so much. And so let's bring our audience. And I want to thank Dr. Tanja Blackman, amazing woman. Thank you, Dr. Tanja, for watching today. Brenda, hi, Brenda. Thank you for tuning in our Facebook audience today. Thank you, guys. We are you could be anywhere else. I'm always appreciative when our audience stops through and just, giving us the support. We're talking about a subject today, and I love it, Sunita, how we are becoming more open to talking about, as you said, no one prepares us for death. No one prepares us for the losing of a parent, a child, a family member, a coworker, even your neighbor. We have elderly people that live alone, and then all of a sudden your neighbor has passed away and you don't know how to get in touch with their grandchildren. That's a whole nother subject, right? Or their children. you know, or even if they have children, you know, so that's a whole nother subject right there. But I want to go back to Diana. Thank you for your sharing of your story. There's so many young people that we're hearing, and when I say young people, is they're in their 30s or 40s, and they've been in the foster care system, and whenever they age out, and they're still dealing with not knowing, or maybe knowing, or not having a relationship with their biological parent. And so for you, you shared that experience with us. And so how is it that, and I want to ask you the same question, have you found yourself where you have been able to help another person by sharing your story?
Absolutely. Even before this book was written, I definitely, you know, being a teacher, you run into so many students with a lot of different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So to be able to tell a kid, you have no excuse but to be successful. You know, nothing that life has thrown at you has taken you out of the game, and I'm living proof of that. But most recently, I can say that a coworker of mine lost her mother. And so it was such a gift to be able to be like, hey, I have something that I think can help you. And my story may not be the one that you identify with, but someone in here probably has a really similar story to yours. So here's my gift. And, you know, I hope that, you know, it helps you. So that was great for me to be able to do that.
That's good. That is good. So LuDrean, yes, this book, and Sunita and Lady Latasha, this book is becoming a healing tool. It is a tool that, as you were very candid to let them know, is that, hey, you know, it may not be my story, but it could be someone else's story that will help you along your journey of as you go through the grieving process. I think we talked about last week, excuse me, is that it's okay to grieve. Take your time and grieve. And it's good to have that accountability partner. Anybody want to tap in on that, what I just said, before we go to Lady Monica?
Can I say something before
Go
we
ahead.
transition
Yes.
into that part? So all the stories are powerful, but Diane's story like impacted me in a way that it was the opposite effect, right? So in reading her story, I was right there. I wasn't even a month fully into having to deal with something that was going on with my sibling, my sister. My sister was in the hospital. It was just a month before she transitioned at this time that we're writing this book, right? So then when I go back, like it's just months, like 2 months, a month and a half. I don't even remember the time when my mother, I was just burying my mother where all this stuff was going on. But
Right.
Diane's story, like, helped me so much with my grieving process because it made me be so thankful for my mother. Like my mother, like, loved me like unconditionally. But like the opposite fact in Diane pouring out her story, and I'm so glad, Diane, that you found your way through it. And although you still deal with your pain, you found your way through it. Your story in itself blessed me. It helped me as I was going through my process, because what if I didn't have that? What if I didn't know that? So you made me be able to appreciate what I did have. So thank you sincerely, like, for that. You were so, like, your story was so critical in my healing process. Like, not like my grieving and my healing was intertwined together. I don't even know, like, I'm gonna have to talk to the people who made the 5 grief steps, because I don't even know if that ever happened before. But your story was just so powerful to me, and not playing off of your lack of what you didn't have, but playing off of the power of, although you didn't have, this is how you dealt with it, and this is what you are, the successful you, and what you have become. So your story is powerful beyond words. So Sandy, yes, we can transition to your portion, but I could not let that moment go without saying that, because it has really, really, like, I mean that sincerely, has helped me in my intertwined grieving, healing, mixed up process. It really helped me on the positive side. So thank you for your story.
I love it. Lady Latasha, I saw you shaking your head in agreement. Come on, can you elaborate on what you were feeling or what she was saying that would cause you to be in agreement?
Yeah, and that, I mean, that's kind of like what I was alluding to earlier, that these stories, you may not have dealt with exactly what we have written about, but it's going to help you in some way. And Diane's story, as well as Tanja, she's not here with us tonight, but her story as well. It's like, think about being a teenage girl and going through that stage where you're like, I hate my mother. She gets on my nerves. She ruins everything. She's so mean. But then putting yourself in their shoes where they didn't get to say that about their biological mother. And it definitely puts things in perspective. And if you have the opportunity to share that your story or even someone else's story with another young woman in your life or young person in your life, it'll actually help them understand that they're not alone in what they're going through. You may have it or feel like you have it bad right now. However, it's someone out there wishing, praying that they could be angry with their mother for a couple of minutes, you know,
and the fact of having them to converse back, because you can be angry at the individual, but they're not here, you know, you just kind of like, you know, and my sister went through that when we lost our aunt. You know, she was very angry, but mom wasn't here no more. And she said, I used to go to the gravesite and I would be so mad at her and I would have to go through these emotions. So here is the thing, as you said, is that even though we're angry, upset, happy, glad, cry, whatever, but when you, and like you said, but not to even have that individual to, you know, even communicate, what you talking about, girl? Don't you know I raised you or whatever, you know, those things, not to even have that. So that is powerful what you're saying. That is so amazing. You all, I am I'm not at home, I'm traveling. You all know that I'm at an event in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I am on an interview. We're in part 2 of an amazing conversation and interview with the women and the contributing authors and visionary author 1 and 2. Y'all, that is just phenomenal for me. Y'all know I've been interviewing now for a minute and they done broke the glass ceiling now for me. I can LuDrean, only you. And I have to tell you all, LuDrean, I was a big fan. This was like a 360 Sunita for me. This woman, and if I had my book, but all I know is she said epic, okay? And I know she told me to elevate and be purposeful and intentional and all of that creative stuff. But I knew of her through a book. And when I read her chapter, I bought the book, just like you all said it, that, you know, someone will get the book and maybe from you, but it's someone else's story that's going to make the impact. And so I met her through her writing, and it changed the trajectory of how I would handle doing this, because I have a 9-to-5. She talked about how to have that 9-to-5 in your side hustle, how to bring it all together. And I'm paraphrasing you all, but the book, that's how I got to know her. And then only God would allow me to have the privilege and the opportunity. And I did. I reached out to her, just let her know in an email or a text through Facebook. And circle back around, dear friend of a mutual person, her visionary author, a dear friend of mine, and a consistent client of ours, a customer and an author on our platform, is Reverend Allison Daniels. And when I saw her name, I was like, oh, y'all, I went into a celebrity shock. You know, I did. I was like, oh my God, she's gonna be on my show. Oh my goodness. I did.
I interject there.
I went celeb, y'all. I did. Listen, I'm gonna let you know. I was at home. I was like, oh.
Well, hold on. Let me interject. So I am an introvert by nature, right? People just swear that I'm an extrovert. So I mean, I didn't put it all together of who you were or whatever. And then when you started saying that, I was like, what book? Then you was like, Cheryl Woods, Elevation. Yeah. And I was like, yes, because that was my chapter. but I was like frozen a little bit, and I'm never like overly shy or whatever, but you was like, oh my God, LuDrean, and I was just like, so you got to go back and watch the taping of it. It was hilarious, like from my side, because I was like, whoa, wait, whoa, what we doing?
What you talking about? What you talking about?
I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And that's how we got that's how we got to connected. And it, to me, is like it's like so real. It's like you circle back around, and that's how we know is that it's purposeful. And Coffee Conversations and Book Talks with Sandy, that is our platform. It is our first fruit to the Lord. Our Facebook family, listen, we thank you so much. The phenomenal Tam Lawrence, thank you so much for stopping by, you all. If you don't know, look out for her show. She's phenomenal. And yes, indeed. Thank you all, Pastor Glendora Williams, for watching. And thank you all. Now we're going to go ahead and bring on author Monica Bess. Monica is a contributing author of this book, We All Grieve Differently. And I'm just going to share just a little bit about her. Listen, you all, I need to come on back to DC and Maryland, and we can go to the Baltimore Harbor and all of that good stuff. Monica Bess is a native Washingtonian. She was born and raised in Washington, D.C., attended the D.C. public school system, where she graduated from Ballou Senior High School. Monica loves spending time with family and friends, relaxing by the water, traveling, wine tasting, and candle making. Monica has always had a passion for serving others, and she recognizes it as being a gift around the time she lost her mom in 1996. She has a heart to help people that are in need, whether it is a big as assisting someone or who has lost a loved one, plan a funeral, or as small as lending a listening ear or sharing an encouraging word. Monica has two daughters, a son who's 29, and her two grandsons, Austin and Elijah. She's proud of all of them and looking forward to all of the amazing things that there are to come in their lives. Monica is currently in school pursuing her bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in human resources. Once she attains her degree, she plans to start her own business, which will assist others in maximizing their business potential. You all, Facebook family, yes, I bring to our table author Monica Bess. Come on and join us. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us on. I really appreciate it. I was supposed to be on last week, had some little scheduling issues with work, but I am so excited to be on with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Share with us a little bit about your chapter and how you came to connect with these group of women who are sharing and talking about how handling grief differently.
I met LuDrean from a girls' night out. One of our friends always has this girls' night, and we get together and we talk about things and we just have a good time. And I met her from there, and then we just became friends. And so one day on Facebook, I saw that she had put out a ad basically on Facebook that said, "Hey, if you're looking to be a co-author and join us, if you've lost your parent and you want to talk about it." And immediately, almost like immediately, I was like, yes, I got to do this. So I hurried up and I let her know I was interested. And the funny thing about it is a lot of people had said they were interested, but only 10 people. It was so perfect. Only 10 people came. And so we were the 10 that were included in the book. Yeah.
That's interesting. And so when you hear or see the author call, you attend the informational meeting, the 10 ladies are on, or 10 individuals, because are there any men in the book?
I think there is a story of
There's a twist, right?
Okay.
There's a twist with it. So we'll let Monica tell her story, but don't let us forget to tell you the twist.
Yeah.
Like, I love the twist. I love
right.
I knew you wanted to tell the twist, LuDrean. That's why I was like, oh.
Okay. So what was it? You said, yes, I got to share this. I got to tell my story. So have you been holding on to this, say, for a minute? And it's kind of like when you know a yes is a yes, no doubt you do what you got to do. You say, listen, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to pray about it. I don't need to ask nobody. This was that moment for you. What was it that, was it just the timing?
It was the timing, and also because, so many people had lost their loved ones during this COVID thing. And so it was just like, yes, an automatic yes. It was just in my spirit of yes, because I like to share and serve and help people. And I don't know why, but I've always been the person to help people when somebody passes away in their family. I've always been that person that'll go over there and serve, and just do whatever. I don't know. I have a passion for that.
Wow.
I don't know what it is.
And was that before did you see your mother? Did she do that?
She did not.
She did not. Did that come after she had passed on? Did your desire, or did you find that you were doing this after she had passed?
Yeah, more so after. I used to attend people's funerals and all that and help anyway, just because I'm a server by nature, and I just like to serve people. If you invited me over your house, you probably would have to say, sit down, I got this, because I'm gonna be trying to help you.
I thought I was the only one. And so we're servers at nature. So when you see a cup on the table and nobody, and it's like, I gotta go get that cup, and I know I want to either go wipe up because I know there's water right there because ice done come out.
Yes.
Girl, yes, we can relate. But that's a blessing because, again, you've been in their shoes, so to speak, just maybe not totally, but you've been in that space where it seems like a blur. Let's talk about that. When a close loved one transitions or pass, a lot of people are around. It can sometimes be like a blur. Can anyone relate to that or talk about that? Is that days will go by and then you look up and, oh yeah, I know I didn't speak to them or whatever, but anybody want to tap into that?
That definitely happened to me because I'm the oldest. My mom lived with me. She died at home. And so I was just busy, I always was doing something. So days after that, I was just riding in my car and I just had to pull over. It's like a whole grain of emotions just took over me. I couldn't see. I had to literally pull over and get myself together. It's like I came to a come to terms moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so everything else before that was kind of like a blur. That's why when I had to write this, I called LuDrean and I texted her. I don't know if I called her, text, and I was like, I can't. I'm having a hard time. She thought I was saying I couldn't bring my thoughts together. It's like I didn't want to dig that back up, if that makes sense.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You didn't want to dig it back up. She's using something interesting. Lady Sanita, what is that?
So, okay. So what I wanted to piggyback on that is one of the things people ask me is, what can I do when someone has that, right at the initial set of loss? Like everybody is there, right? Like everybody, your co-workers are there, your church members are there, your family. And I tell people, space it out. Like you don't have to be like in that first 3 days, because some people are like, I got to be there initially. I'm like, this is a journey. So don't overwhelm the person by all of your love, because all of that love can become overwhelming at a certain point. Like then you have to start putting guards up, right? You got to start having family members be like, they're not doing visitors today.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's becoming too much. So I tell people, listen, put on your calendar to reach out to that person in 3 months. Right. Yeah. Because in 3 months, things are settling down. And that's really when they're kind of coming off of the cloud. It took me 3 months before like I got started settling, because it's so much business that they have to do right at the onset of loss that they appreciate the meals and the cards, but it would mean so much more as they start to become like settling into their new norm, right? Because they're trying to get used to maybe not calling their mother. Like I call my mother every time I was in the car. So now it's, what do I do with that time, right? Like who am I going to speak to, because she was the person I spoke to all the time in the car. So they're trying to figure out some things. So spread that out, because that was what I said. Listen, they're going to go through, this is a lifetime journey. So they are going to need those meals. Think about, ask when their loved one's birthday is, and maybe you can bring them a meal on that day, because that day they may not feel like cooking anything for their family. They may not want to eat. They may just go through a withdrawal, and they just withdraw from everything, and they're not thinking about food. So that would be an ideal time. You don't have to do it as soon as you're here. Like start thinking about those days, Mother's Day, holidays, things that
Yeah.
you heard them mention that they do with their mom. Plan for those days to be there for that person, instead of trying to do it all right in that grieving,
Right in
initially,
initially.
because then what happens is everybody goes away. Like
Yeah.
everybody else is like hovering, and then
Yeah.
like it's like they flocked in, they flock out, and then you're left like, where did everybody go? And
Yeah.
sometimes that is grief in and of itself. It's like everybody just left me, as though like three weeks go by and like you just supposed to be okay, we on to the next.
Yeah.
And so I always just say space that out.
And prior to COVID, if y'all remember, prior to COVID, in large, when that gathering, everybody's flying in, they're driving in. I can remember you got 50 people almost living in the house for a few days, and people bringing over food and all of that. And that kind of digressed and changed the dynamics of how gatherings are with COVID, with how the gatherings would take place among family, among those, the support, your community support, the coworker support, and things like that. I'm glad you talked about that, because as you said, is that we're really not prepared. But I think, would you say, and I want you to hold, I'm going to ask a question, but I want you to hold your thought, is that since COVID, have the dynamics changed of how we support each other in the time of need when a loved one has passed? I know that was a lot, but main part, has the dynamic changed. This is Sandy Sanders. I am the host of Book Talks with Sandy. We have been in a dialogue and an interview with the amazing, yes, visionary author 1 and 2 of We All Grieve Differently, with LuDrean Howard Peterson and Lady Latasha Briscoe, the phenomenal contributing authors of this book. Now we're going to just kind of, y'all know how we do in the TV world, but this is, the Facebook world. We want to share about our sponsor. I want to share my screen here and let you know about an upcoming event that I want to encourage each of you to go and register. I want you to register for this upcoming event. Let's see here. This event is, yes, here it is, the Level Up Conference Summit, which will be on March the 25th through the 22nd. This event is a free virtual event. And let me see if I can shift us over here. Let me see. Y'all forgive me. Did I lose it? Let me try this again here. I want to make sure that we get the full-fledged. There we go. There we go. Can y'all see that? Because I'm using Zoom today, and
Yes.
it's a little bit different. Can y'all see it?
Let's see that.
Let me see here. Hold on just a minute.
Yes,
Here.
we can see it on Facebook.
There we go. Okay. Are we in the way? Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. I know it's like really large, and y'all. Okay. So the website is Time to Level Up. It is Time to Level Up. That's what it is. You all, my screen is really big. Y'all forgive me on my computer. I'm going to come out of it. But it is with Kern Crockett Sherri and Kern is doing a summit this year, and the summit is going to be virtual. You can register for free. If you notice, if you go to it, you will see all of the information. Time to level up, time, the number 2, levelup.com. It will be taking place during the month, this month, next week, which is the 25th through the 27th. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen here now. If I can come back here. Hold on. Y'all forgive me here. I'm going to pause it and then I'm going to stop sharing. Let me see if I can come out of it. Y'all forgive me here for a second. When I'm working with my computer, now there we go. Now it's telling me I'm not sharing no more because I'm not using StreamYard. But I want you all to go to Time to Level Up. You saw, I don't know if you saw any of the speakers that will be on the book. The majority of it is is going to be virtual from that morning on Thursday. You will get the notification once you register. It is absolutely free. You're going to see and hear these phenomenal speakers. There'll be opportunities for you to even get in on the VIP where there is live with the keynotes. And this year keynote is Jody Watley. We were listening to an interview with her on Clubhouse a couple of nights ago. Phenomenal lady. And she is now in business and staying relevant, even though if you were one of the 70s or say the 60s, baby, but then you grew it and you were a teenager in the 70s, or you now y'all probably, okay. Or either mama was paying them. They were playing the Soul Train on Saturdays. Yes, she was one of the group. She was the female in the group called Shalimar. But then, if you are say in your 30s or 40, y'all remember her when she was by herself as a solo artist. Phenomenal woman. So yes, go ahead, register. I know you won't be disappointed. And so we want to support Kern Crockett Cherry. And then if you are in our area, come on to Biloxi, Mississippi, because on that Sunday, we will be hosting a business and author expo. And I'll be interviewing and doing some talk panels, moderating some panels with authors. And we're really excited about it. And there's a country group. There's a female, African-American female country singers. They are called Chapel Heart. I want y'all to write that down. I want y'all to look them up because they are taking the country music genre by storm. It is Chapel, and Heart is spelled H-A-R-T. You're going to love their music. Listen, it's a new sound to your ear. Okay. Well, listen, I do want to thank our guests that are on with us today. I do want to, LuDrean, I want to go ahead and bring you in for some comments, and then we're going to bring Sunita back in. And then each of you, if you just begin to think about the question is, why did you? And then you kind of answered it, but I want you to go a little bit. Oh no, Sunita, thank you, Holy Ghost. I asked you the dynamics. Thank you. The Holy Spirit will come back and remind us every time.
Yes, he will.
So before Sunita go, I actually wanted to circle back when you were interviewing Monica and we talked about the twist. So I don't want to forget about that. So while in the book, if you look, you won't see a male's totally by himself, but you will see him with his wife. And so what happened is his wife helped him pen his chapter. So it is the story of a male's point of view, but through the penning of his wife. And when I tell you his story, like, bless all of my male friends. Males don't like to get sensitive, right? They don't like to get sensitive. But the title of his chapter was, I Am Just a Mama's Boy. And he goes in it talking about his toughness, and it's Vincent and Lisa Curry. He goes in talking about his toughness, but then he talks about that tender side of, like, when his mother came, everything changed, and he went from this big old macho man to this mama's boy. So it definitely invites men in the male aspect that it's okay to cry. It's okay to have that whole feeling of hurt when you lose someone as dear as your mother, but also being able to stand in your maleness, but
Yeah.
also have that sensitive side where you are actually able to express yourself. So I definitely wanted to get that part in, and we can talk about we can shift with Sunita and talking about how it is during COVID, but also like Tasha can chime in on this. Latasha is a florist, right?
Mhm.
So she prepares flowers for funerals.
Mhm.
She
Oh, okay.
prepares flowers for
Beautiful.
funerals. So with
Oh,
my
wow.
mom, Tasha did all of the flowers. I was like on Facebook, don't nobody send no donations for no flowers or anything. I needed her decor to be this way, right?
Exactly. Before that, we want to acknowledge one of our authors is going to have to depart from our interview. But Dakota, you have been amazing. I just love your story, and thank you so much for contributing. You all, thank you so much. You want to tell us
Thank
bye-bye
you.
and how can we reach out to you?
You can find me on Facebook. My name, Dakota Saunders. I'm mainly on Facebook, so yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for
You're
having me.
amazing.
Dakota.
You are amazing.
Dakota.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being with us on today.
All righty, you have a good one.
You
All
too.
right, take care. And so as we continue, you all, these phenomenal women are sharing their story, how we grieve. We all grieve differently. And so we have with us one of the a grief counselor expert in that area that helps us is going to share a couple of points with us of how the dynamics have changed. You know, as I was shared earlier, back in the day, you look up and people flying in, you got to go pick them up, and then you got cousins and everybody coming over, and then you got about 50 people in the house and 4 on the bed and 4 on the floor and all of this. But the dynamics of that has changed. And so I want to call a Coach Sunita, if you will, come on and share with us. Come on.
That works well for me because I have not got my license yet, so that would work just fine. I did just get accepted in Marymount's pastoral counseling program, so give me about 3 years and then you can.
Hey, we
change
got
that.
you. We got
Right.
you.
And so, but so your question was, how has the dynamics changed? And I think that what has happened and what we see is that people have become more creative in the way that they are able to support one another throughout their loss. And so that's the positive, right? People are getting more creative. They're thinking more long-term. They're thinking about more tangible ways to support someone who is going through loss. But also on the flip side is that it's also caused a lot of people a lot of anxiety and also extended grief because they cannot come and be with their family members because of restrictions, or maybe even just, hey, you know, some family members are like, I don't want you all around here just because we have COVID. So it's a lot of nervousness. You know, I can't let you come over, you know, you can't stay. A lot of the questions about vaccinations. So sometimes it can cause a very stressful environment that is already stressful. So I think, but what happens is people are just becoming more, like I said, creative. They're coming up with different ways. Maybe they are, you know, especially with the funeral homes now, being able to broadcast it virtually so that more people can still be a part of the service. Churches are becoming more innovative with how they're allowing people to come in and spend that time giving the families that nurturing feel, but at the same time, maintaining COVID protocols and respect for what is going on, because we are still in a pandemic. Even though things are being lifted, people still just don't feel safe, which is also an intangible loss, because loss of safety is an intangible loss, but I'll digress. But they will, you know, so people don't feel safe. And so with that just comes another, like I said, level of grief. And so people are just making the best decisions that they feel like they can make at that point in time, and just kind of doing the best that they can with what we have, you know, with what we have. Everybody's just had to make changes and pivot in the way we used to do things to what we are right now.
Right. And I think you're making great points to help us know that we're in a different time. I think we are, as a world, we recognize that, but I think also, and it's not a race thing. It's not a cultural thing. I think it's across the board. You know, from us as African Americans, as the Black community, as well as the Caucasian community, they're experiencing it just the same. The Latino community, just the same. And so I think, as they say, you know, we all bleed, you know, one bleed, we all bleed. And so we are going to experience, and it's how we're experiencing it and how it affects us. I'd like to hear from visionary author number 2 about the things that we've discussed, the authors and the growth process, the healing process, how we're able to have these dialogue conversations in an effective way. And in respect, we understand that we've lost that loved one, but what would you say how we are now and how this book is beneficial?
Yeah. So I definitely say that things are very different now. And I'm glad LuDrean mentioned the whole flowers thing, because not just because I do flowers, but because it reminded me the fact that funerals have changed. You can't have 200 and 300 people in a funeral anymore to just surround you. People aren't really having, well, actually they're starting them again, but repasts. But there was a time when people were not having repasts. And even just the celebration itself, people felt like, well, how do I honor my loved one? And I can't have this big celebration for them. And so being on the other side of that, watching how people now have to convert to, you know, being able to greet all of their family and friends and have them during that time to, all right, we're going to live stream it and I'm going to send you a link and the 10 people that are closest to me can be there. So it's really strange in that way. The growing process and the grieving process, and I say growing process because when grief hits us, we feel little. We feel like anything and everything else that happens to us is just going to break us down even more. And so we don't feel like we can get through anything else until we figure out how to get through that thing. But then something else happens. And I believe that sitting down, reading these stories, again, whether or not they specifically apply to you or not, like LuDrean mentioned, the gentleman that's in our book, like his story had all of us crying. Because we hear people say, oh, this person, this guy, he's a mama's boy and this, and this, but you never know how men are actually affected by that and how they love their mothers. And being a mom of a boy, like I love my son, he can do no wrong in my eyes. He's only 10. I'm gonna fix that when he get older. But hearing from a man the love that he has for his mother and how it hurt him, because we look at men to be those strong figures. As a woman, I want to turn to a man and say, can you console me? But who's going to console him? And just being able to see these different perspectives and watching how people deal with things as little as the phone calls. I know LuDrean mentioned it, but phone calls. My mother called me daily at 7:30 in the morning. And when I didn't get that call by 7:32 that morning, my gut automatically says something isn't right. I didn't get a call saying something isn't right. Nothing was indicated to me before I left the house or the night before, nothing. But my gut says something isn't right because of that bond that we had. And so when I did not receive that call, I immediately started making phone calls and I needed to know what was going on with my mother. But I had to mentally prepare myself for what was to come after. And I'm still dealing with that. And I take it back to the fact that I said, people that haven't had to deal with it will never understand it. Like I've said to my own daughter, because I'll call her now every morning at 7:30 because she has to get my son up for school. And I'm like, are you up? Well, why do you got to call so early? And I said to her one day, you're going to miss these phone calls when you don't get them anymore. And
Exactly.
So I don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. Right. But they're, why you got to say stuff like that? And I'm like, that's the reality of it. And unfortunately, we all have to be prepared for that. But again, our stories, and the campaigning journal that LuDrean has written, like all of this is to help someone. It was for us to go through what we needed to go through. Some of us had to dig up some old stuff that we buried and we never dealt with, but digging it up allowed us to deal with it. And then realize, you know what, that's why this was the way it was, or this is how I can fix the relationship I have now with this person. Because grief, again, that title can be applied on so many different areas of our life. Loss of a job, loss of a pet, loss of, shoot, we might lose weight and don't know what to do with ourselves because we don't know how to act anymore.
Tell me about it.
But that fact, that loss thing, like you can deal with so much, and there's something in there to help you. And that's all, we didn't go out here to say, all right, we just gonna go out here and make $1 billion, pouring our hearts out and crying while we're writing. None of us was able to write. We couldn't put the story on paper.
I would think not.
But we ended up, we did it. We cried together. We did it together, and we knew that it was going to heal someone while it was helping us. So, it's been an amazing journey, and they're stuck with us now. Like they can't go anywhere. We don't bug them every couple months, but it's just been a awesome process. And we're just looking forward to continuing to allow this book to help someone. Again, we're coming up, it's our 1-year anniversary on releasing it, and it's still making an impact. Without having to do, we don't have to do hard work for it to make an impact. It's making an impact because people want to know, what does that differently actually mean?
Yeah.
That's good. Uh-oh, I think you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Okay.
But yeah, as she's unmuting, one of the things I wanted to, okay, there you go. You go.
Oh no, I was on the backside looking at our Facebook, and then I mute while I'm on that side. But you go ahead with your thought, because I don't want to interrupt your thought. And then we're going to go around to each of the ladies and let each of you share why you said yes and how they can get in touch with you. But go ahead with your thought.
I'll go ahead with it, but it was really to do a filler. But my thought was actually off of that, when you had asked Sanita about what's different, and Latasha started talking about the flowers and everything. So my mother, only 25 people could stay in my mother's funeral. During the wake, they could pass through, but only 25 people could be in the building at a time. And at one point, I stepped outside because too many people were in the building, and the line started getting long. And for my sister, because it was 3 months later, time had expanded a bit, and my sister was able to have 100 people in her funeral. And that still was a task to max out, because maybe like 70 were family members, and then we had to pick and choose and draw straws for who the other 30 would be. And it would be like, that was a challenge. For me, I'm telling y'all, like through this whole thing, God really covered me and had my situation to be so unique. I have been through hundreds of deaths, hundreds, and none have been like the seasoning of this so close transition. And I know that it was nothing but God's grace, right? I wouldn't have wanted people to be all around me. I process things differently. And in my quiet time, I was able to have that one-on-one time with God. When I used to go to funerals, my mother was the person who consoled me. My mother transitioned, so nobody could console me like my mother except for God. And it forced me to have that one-on-one time with God. And I know now my friends probably be like, she over churchly, whatever. I will be over churchly, because that is exactly how I got through it. And I received 97 cards. And each time one of the cards came, at the beginning, it was like, okay, but when it was a pause and then another one would come a week later, 2 weeks later, at first it was painful, because it would remind me all over again, your mother passed away. Your mother passed away. And then things started happening. Monica, poor Monica. Monica probably thought I ain't like her no more. Monica was at my door with food,
I understood.
flowers, and everything. And I loved her to death. And she was like, I'll come and I'll do it. And I was like, and I was very appreciative, but I just needed my alone time. So God knew what I needed. And I'm not saying he shut down the world, but his timing couldn't have been better. For me as an introvert and the way that I process pain, nobody but God could have helped me. It's nothing that no one could have said. And sometimes people say things and unintentionally cause harm or cause more hurt. And my good Reverend Rice, she says, it pokes at your pain, like unintentionally though. So my experience, had the world been open, I don't know where my mind would have been and how it would have been. So I so thank God that he had his timing and that he allowed me to be face to face with him every day, all day, every day. So I just wanted to throw that in. It was supposed to be a filler, but it ended up being a fuller. So let's go ahead and let you do your round.
I love it. Well, listen, this has been amazing. You are amazing. Listen, you all, what I really thought was going to be part 2 and final interview, there are more authors, and we will be having a part 3. So as we begin to put those dates together, it will be very soon. But I do want to thank all of our authors and the visionary author and visionary author 1 and 2 of this amazing book, We All Grieve Differently. Yes, we're talking about the phenomenal LuDrean. This is a bestseller, you all. LuDrean Howard Peterson and Latasha Briscoe, and the phenomenal authors that have joined us on today. I want to start with Diane, if she will. Author Diane, if you will, go ahead and share with us who you are and how individuals can reach out to you. And thank you again for gracing our Book Talks with Sandy's table.
Sure. So you can reach me at my website, DianeRJackson.com. I actually have a mail dropping April 2nd, so you can purchase it for pre-order there. Or if you would like me to speak at any other events or anything like that, that's where you can find
Uh-oh.
And Diane, if you will, go ahead and, am I on mute? No.
No,
If
you're
you
not.
will, go ahead. There was a little bit with the signal. So I want you to type in your information so we can make sure that individuals, if they want to reach out to you, you have an amazing, phenomenal story. We want to capture that information, okay? And if you will, let's hear from visionary author number 2, Lady Latasha Briscoe.
Yes, you can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, wherever. My website is latashabriscoe.com, or just search me as Latasha Briscoe on either one of those platforms, and you can find me some way and we can connect.
All right, thank you so much. And now we go to author Monica Bess, if you will. Go ahead. And I want to make sure that we give you enough time. Is there anything else on your heart that you want to share just before you go in to share with us how we can reach out to you?
It's fine. I had enough time. Just along the same lines as LuDrean and Latasha. Me and my mom talked every single day. So yeah, when it came down to losing her, that was a big thing for me. We're very family oriented. So me and my oldest daughter, we talk every single day. Me and my other daughter, we talk a lot, but me and my oldest daughter, I had her when I was 17. So we're really close and we talk every single day. And if I don't hear from her or she don't hear from me, we're calling each other and say, hey, where you at? Don't make me send the bulls out to get you. Don't make me put out an APB. They say I always do that. But yeah, and I just have a couple of tips. Don't let anyone tell you how to grieve. Your grieving doesn't have to mirror anybody else's. And don't let anybody rush your grieving process. And if you need to reach out to somebody like a therapist or something, just please do it, because it doesn't do you any good to not get that grieving process out. And so I can be reached at msmonicabest@hotmail.com. That's my email address. I am taking a hiatus from social media right now, but I'm still active on there. It is Instagram, always free to be me. Free is FRE, the number 2, the letter BME. And on Facebook, it's just Monica Best.
Okay, great. Awesome, awesome. And now we'll hear from Sanita Mitchell. And Ms. Sanita, if you will, go ahead and just briefly tell us who you are and how individuals can reach out to you.
Absolutely. As mentioned before, I am a certified grief recovery specialist, which means that I've been trained to walk people through different types of grief. I have to be able to teach a curriculum it's an 8-week program that will help you get to the heart, as we say, the heart of dealing with your emotions surrounding your loss so that you can recover. That word recover is to take your life back, to have the quality of life that you had. You won't be the same person, but you could definitely have that quality of life that grief can come in and disrupt and upsert in our life. And so we have to learn how to process those unresolved emotions, being able to say the things that we needed to say or things we wanted to say. And so that's what I do, is I help people be able to deal with those emotions surrounding their loss. The tips that I would leave is that you need to take some form of action, because time does pass, but that's all it does. If you don't do anything, if you don't reach out to your friends, if you don't reach out to your support system, or you don't get the therapy or go to a support group or take a class, be around people who will support you, those are actionable steps. You don't have to do them all at one time, but just one small step each day that which you feel like you can handle. Communicate openly with people. The only way people know how to help you is if you tell them. You have to be able to tell them what you need and when you need it. Because none of us know how to read minds, but we definitely need to be able to educate people on how to approach us, what we need, what we mean. And then when we sometimes say things, when we're sad or, in a moment and we lash out, don't be afraid to say you're sorry and reach out and just communicate with those around you. Third, I would say create a self-care plan is one of the things I help people do. Is you have to plan. I'm sorry. Like, you have to be ready for these moments, right? The moments that since we're talking about we all grieve differently, and this was about losing the mom, Mother's Day is coming up. You need to have a plan. Don't haphazardly walk into May not with a plan. Like, it doesn't mean you're going to execute it, but you need to have one so that you know what to do. What is it that you want to do? How you want that day to happen. And even if it doesn't, to give yourself that level of grace. And I talk about that somewhere in our conversation, we talked about accountability. So when you have this plan, you're going to share it with somebody that you trust so that they know what it is that you want to do, so that they can kind of keep you accountable to some of the things that you want to do or what you're feeling. Right. And so jotting down scriptures or inspirational quotes that you're going to be able to say to yourself when you have those moments of grief. I call them down times, when you just need to sit and you need to cry, or you need to, some event or something somebody says, or some fragrance that takes you to a moment. You need to write those things down so that you're prepared the next time, you know what that means. And then your friends know what that means and what that could possibly do to you. And then lastly, surround yourself with people who are going to support you. Check out your support system. Be with people who are going to uplift you and encourage you, listen to you. And so you can find me at sanitamitchell.com. Of course, on social media, I am Grief Under Grace. You can find me there. I do have a nonprofit that solely focuses on pregnancy and infant loss. So you can find me at anayasproject.org. And so, that's where you can find me. And I thank you so much for this opportunity. I thank you so much.
Oh, listen, I thank LuDrean for bringing you all on. And what we normally do, we do give way for, before we end our broadcast, we always give way to our contributing authors, the visionary authors of the book projects. Before I bring now two visionary authors, I'm telling y'all done broke the ceiling. So anyway, Book Talk to Sandy, I am so thankful that for all of you all that watch us on a weekly basis. We are in the last leg of the I Have a Story book tour. Now, what is that? Those are authors that have joined the tour, and they're coming on and sharing just snippets of their book, their story, their chapters, and they're actually reading from their chapters. So join me on tomorrow. I'll be back in my my home on tomorrow, and tomorrow evening beginning at 6:00 p.m. Yes, we will have the phenomenal Tanja Ratliff, who will be sharing Rise Up and Reign. And then we will have Lakeisha. I got to pull up hers in just a minute, but she will be on with us around 7:30. I believe her tour starts. 6-time best-selling author. These women are coming on and just sharing snippets of their story. So you can find that on Coffee Conversation with Sandy and Friends. We're on the last leg of the tour. And then what's going to happen, you'll begin to see the replays, you all. And so all throughout the week, just catch those episodes that you may have missed, okay? Because that's what social media is all about. You can always go back and look at it on YouTube, or you can look at it on Facebook. Go to my page and you'll definitely be able to find it. So now at this time, I'm going to go ahead and yield back and allow our visionary authors to share their hearts. And once again, we thank you so much for tuning in to Book Talks with Sandy. And again, this week's guest has been the authors of We All Grieve Differently. I'm going to go ahead and start with LuDrean, if that's okay. And then we'll go to Latisha.
Absolutely,
Thank
absolutely,
you.
absolutely. So we're gonna get that Queen Her Flowers. So absolutely, I'm just messing with you. But a couple things in closing out. One, I not just because I'm a co-visionary and not because I'm an author, but I truly, sincerely think that this book is so impactful. When Latasha and I set out for it, we did not set up with profit in mind. That's why we limited to the number of authors that were here, because we wanted it to be impactful and we wanted them to have enough space and enough words to actually express themselves and to tell their stories, and also to be able to sell from their platform so that they can also gain the experience of being an author and also heal from being an author. A couple things that I want to say in closing out. Triggers. So that was one point that I had written down to talk about. The triggers happen all the time. Birthdays, death anniversary dates, Mother's Day, Father's Day, everything. And that was one area that really I had prepared for and tried to prepare for every time that I got close to it. And so in the healing journal, you'll find different tips. It's a whole list of tips of triggers of what I actually did. So instead of mourning for my mom's the day that she left this earth, I volunteered. Her name is Martha, so I volunteered at Martha's table. For my sister passed away dealing with cancer. I couldn't advertise and share it on Facebook, but I have a client who is actually creating something that is related to that. So of course I poured my heart and soul, put all type of discounts on the packet, in addition to the things that we did. So triggers is very sincere. But I want to offer this message to people because it hit me this week. So March the 17th, just this past week, my best friend who passed away 20 years ago, it was her birthday. And for the first several years, her birthday was the toughest thing ever for me in life. Toughest for me. And I mean, that's when I didn't even know what depression was, but as I look back, it was depression. Couldn't get out of the bed. Thankfully, it was over the Christmas holiday, so I was on leave for an extended period of time, and it really didn't impact because I work for the federal government. But that thing hurt me so bad. My daughters, who are now grown, 31 and 28, They remember me crying at the funeral. They remember my mother holding me in my arms. I hurt so, so, so bad. And I never thought that I would be able to get over it. It may have been the 16th year of her passing that I started to feel a little something. So when they say this time heal all wounds, I can kind of go with that, but I put my phrase into it. God heals all wounds. If you really allow him to, you can go. Because I didn't have the tools and the mechanisms to help me. I was stuck. I was stuck. I mean, truly stuck. But now with my mother, the passing of my best friend and that grieving process, that long grieving process, but then the healing before I even knew that I was healing, helped me to deal with my mother and my sister. So I say to you, get a journal, do something, even if it's not this one. In my journal, you talk about how you're feeling on a given day, your triggers of the day, and you find ways that you can mitigate them. You talk about sweet memories, and then there's space for encouragement. So many things all throughout, but make sure that you take care of yourself and allow yourself to heal. Allow yourself to grieve, but allow yourself to heal as well. So go through the phases, but do not get stuck there. Don't get stuck there. Latasha.
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned the triggers thing, because even through your healing process and in new relationships, people won't necessarily know what it is that's going to affect you. And you have to be able to control that yourself. You cannot assume someone is going to know that not receiving a phone call at X time of the day is going to be a trigger for you. You cannot assume that seeing a yellow butterfly fly by, that's, people are not going to know these things, but you have to be able to control it and deal with it. Unfortunately, time helps things get easier, but I agree, it doesn't necessarily heal everything that we're going through. Utilize the tips that we have shared, that our co-authors have shared. Seek therapy. I know sometimes, especially in our Christian world, some people frown upon therapy. Seek therapy. It wasn't until I sought therapy that I realized that some of the things that I was going through with my own daughter was related to things that I didn't get to resolve with my mother. And so when you seek therapy, you not only heal, or close past relationships that you weren't able to do when the person was still here, but you learn to mend and fix these current relationships so you don't break them too much. So excuse me, but definitely seek therapy and give yourself time. Do not feel like you have to be on anyone's schedule. Do not feel like when people expect things of you that you're not allowed to say no, or I just don't feel like it. Like Dream says, she took some time off so she could just be in the house. I disappeared. And people are like, oh, what are you doing? What is she going through? Is she working? Is she? Don't worry about it. I disappear so that I can be with myself, because you need that time not only to be with yourself, but to be closer to God so that you can have those conversations, so that you're not just feeling depressed, so that you can pray about what's going on, meditate, and have that quiet time, because you need that time, that restoration process for yourself, so that you can get through not only everyday life, but whatever else that may have popped up that you got to deal with at that moment. So again, I want to thank you, Sandy, for allowing us to be on here, and our co-authors that were able to join us today, and Dream for always holding it down and just keeping the show going. And that's it.
Awesome. Well, listen, guys, as always, you know that I love you, and we are going to say we are out, and I got to get ready. We're going to do a networking again in Baton Rouge, Louisiana tonight, where Karen Crockett-Cherry is the host and the creator of the event. Excuse me, she's a keynote, and the host of the event is Nadia Francois. I'll give a great big shout out to her. So listen, if you're in the area, come on and support this amazing event, and you can find that information on the Facebook page of Sis Stars Incorporated, Empowered Incorporated. Okay. All right. Well, listen, you all have an amazing, amazing night. All right.